I'd like to welcome you to the regular monthly meeting of the City of Côte Saint-Luc on January the 15th, 2018. To my right, we have our City Clerk, Frederic Bacal. We have Councillor Oren Sabag, Councillor Mike Cohen, Councillor Ruth Kovac, Councillor Stephen Erdely, Councillor Sidney Benizri, Councillor Mitch Kajavsky. We have the City Manager, Tanya Abramovich, Associate City Manager, Nadia DeFuria, and Associate City Manager, Jonathan Schechter. We are videotaping this to be posted hopefully later this evening or tomorrow morning. Doing it this way, we're doing it in-house for the first time so that there's no additional cost to the city. We're using our communication director, Darryl Levine's technology that we already own from the city. And all the videos and slides that we'll be showing will be able to be embedded into this video so that when people watch it, they'll be able to see it clearly and hear it clearly. There's also going to be an option for audio or video, so people can choose if they just want to have the audio-visual version or the video version. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to wish you all a very happy new year, a happy, healthy 2018. Since we met, a lot has gone on, and before question period, I'm going to show a couple of videos and give a little bit of a recap, because I know that some of the questions today will be dealing with, particularly, the issue of the agglomeration budget. But we're going to start off with, if possible, the video. We need to bring down the screen. How do you push that? This one? Bring down the screen. PC on? Woo, works. We're going to show a video which is the recap of 2017, and then I'm going to make some comments about what's happened since the video was made. Joyeuse Hanouka et joyeuse Noël à tous les résidents de Côte Saint-Luc. Le temps de fête est la période de l'année que je préfère. Alors que nous nous réunissons avec nos proches, pensons à quel point nous sommes chanceux de vivre dans cette ville incroyable. Mon objectif primordial comme maire est de contribuer à offrir un environnement harmonieux et heureux pour nos résidents et nos employés. Dans ma vie professionnelle et dans ma vie personnelle, j'ai découvert qu'en poursuivant cet objectif, les choses vont pour le mieux. À la ville, les élus, les gestionnaires et les employés forment une grande famille avec une mission commune. It's important for me that our workers feel good about coming to work because that positivity is contagious and makes our customer service even better. This is one of the reasons I wanted to recognize employees for their excellence. In 2017, we launched an employee appreciation program. As a full-time mayor, I meet staff regularly. Feedback from staff is as important as feedback from residents. It was an election year, so we heard a lot from residents going door to door, by email, by phone, and online. We launched a new Facebook group this year to give you a place to share your ideas and your suggestions. We launched a public consultation for renovations to Kerwin Park. In 2018, we'll be recording council meetings and putting it online because we want you to see how we make our decisions. In 2017, we completed a lot of important infrastructure projects, including the Cavendish Underpass, the City Hall parking lot, the Trudeau Park renovation, including the Schellenblum Sculpture Garden, Phase 2 of the library brick repairs, a new light configuration at Kildare and Cavendish, Elie Wiesel Park, and the add-on of a new dog run nature park, to name but a few. More is coming in 2018, including the start of a project to switch to efficient LED street lights and sleeving underground sewer pipes. On va faire des améliorations au parc Trudeau et des petits parcs et équipements de terrain de jeu. On va faire de resurfaçage routier, continuer la réparation de trottoirs. On a déjà remplacé environ 7200 mètres de trottoirs au cours des 3 dernières années. On va aussi remplacer des captures de circulation sur le boulevard Cavendish. You can visit côtesaintluc.org/finance to view our 2018 capital budget. which lists these and other projects we will be doing in the coming year. The Côte Saint-Luc Dramatic Society put on several productions in 2017, including Our Town, Fancy Nancy, Little Shop of Horrors, and The Wizard of Oz. In 2018, our musical will be Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat. It was also a great year for the Côte Saint-Luc Men's Club, who raised $400,000 for Muggen David Adom. The club also invited Tara Schwartz, Premier Couillard, and others who addressed full houses at the Aquatic and Community Center. Speaking of the Aquatic and Community Center, it was a big year as we changed the way in which we use the facility, bringing life to the atrium with a pool table, foosball game, take-a-book library, and art exhibits. We introduced new children's programming and birthday party options. The place is busy like never before, from the older adult center for people with dementia, to the mini rec bouncy room, to the fitness center, teen lounge, art room, dance studio, gym, and pools. At the end of 2017, we inaugurated a display of baseball memorabilia from Côte Saint-Luc's own Johnny Elias. We honored Johnny at the annual Golf Classic this summer, and this fall, Johnny was inducted into the Quebec Baseball Hall of Fame. Our member of the National Assembly, David Birnbaum, also announced $1 million in funding for our arena for major modifications to the arena's refrigeration system. I met with Côte des Neiges NDG Mayor Sue Montgomery and Montreal Mayor Valerie Plante in December to ensure that important projects like Cavendish Extension continues to move forward. The operating budget will be adopted in January, and thanks to a $4.2 million deal reducing payments to the agglomeration over the next 3 years and new residential developments throughout our city, we expect to present a balanced budget with no tax increase to residents in 2018. Finally, a word about our new council. You know, after every election, the council is new again. It doesn't matter if you served before. Each mandate is different, and our job is to lead the community for the next 4 years. We need to reflect on what we heard during the election and make a positive difference in the lives of residents. Your new council includes Oren Sabag, Mike Cohen, Dita Burku, Stephen Erdely, Mitch Kajavsky, David Torgman, Sidney Benizri, and Ruth Kovac. Together, we set the policies so that our staff, led by our city manager, Tanya Abramovich, can make it happen. On behalf of my wife, Elaine, our city councilors, and our staff, I wish you and your family a happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and all the best for 2018. De la part de mon épouse Hélène, tous les membres du conseil et notre personnel, je vous souhaite à vous et à votre famille joyeuse Hanukkah, joyeuse Noël, joyeuses fêtes et nos meilleurs vœux pour 2018. Okay, thank you. So now I want to make some comments on the agglomeration budget. So as mentioned in that video, we went over a lot of the accomplishments of the past year and made reference to the work of the city council, the new city council, and our staff in making a budget, preparing a budget that would allow for a 2% cost of living tax increase in our Agglo budget. Mayor Plante had campaigned over the fact that she was not going to increase taxes more than the cost of living. But now all Montrealers who do not live in the suburban cities are receiving an average tax increase of 3.3%. In terms of our budgeting, we expected cost of living, which would have been 2%, but instead, and that would amount to $500,000. And we made accommodation in our budget calculations that we would have been able to have a zero tax increase at the 2% $500,000 increase to the Agglo budget. However, instead of that, the increase to Côte Saint-Luc, as will be explained in our resolutions, and discussions from Stephen Erdely, who's responsible for finance, comes to 6.7%, which leaves us with an increase of 1.8 million minus the $500,000 we had budgeted for, meaning 1.3 million that we're going to have to figure out what to do about. The first thing that the Association of Suburban Mayors did was we had a press conference to make our position clear that we want this budget revisited, as was done in 2006 under Mayor Tremblay when he revisited the agglomeration budget. We have agreed that we're going to be passing resolutions in all of the suburban municipalities. We're going to be passing one shortly after question period. We're sending letters to the Mayor of Montreal, the Minister of Municipal Affairs, and we're asking all Montrealers, not only Côte Saint-Lucers, but all Montrealers, to show their dissatisfaction to Mayor Plante by contacting her directly, sending letters, sending emails, sending letters to their borough mayors, to their mayors, and making it clear that this is unacceptable in a first mandate from a mayor who promised to provide service, to be a mayor of the people, and to not increase expenses at more than the cost of living. So that's where we are at, but I am going to show one more video before question period of that you might have missed. It's one of many of the newscasts that were reported on Global, CTV, CBC. This is the CTV newscast.
And it appears several of the demerged cities will be seeing their bills the city go up. Mount Royal and Montreal West, for example, will see an increase of more than 9%. Denise, the mayors aren't happy.
No, they are not. A lot of anger, a lot of disappointment. I spoke to a group of mayors who are here at City Hall tonight to express just their shock about this budget. They say, like many, they anticipated something in line with the rate of inflation, like many other taxpayers here in the city of Montreal. And they say instead they are now looking at, across the 15 demerged cities, an increase on average of 5.3%. And as you said, in the town of Mount Royal, that is going to be 9.8% increase, and in the town of Montreal West, 9%. Now, these are the fees that they pay for they're called agglomeration fees. So that covers everything from water to law enforcement to fire, all of these sort of fees. And they definitely pay quite a large amount. And they say when they make their budgets, they do put in something in line with inflation. That's what they were expecting. So a lot of them are going to go back to the drawing board now. I spoke with Benny Masala, who's not only the mayor of Montreal West, one of the heaviest hit cities, but he is also the spokesperson for the Association of Demerged Cities. And here's what he had to say about the challenge they now face with this shortfall.
A lot of the towns have already passed their budget, so the ones that have already passed their budget, and I'm one of those, I now have to go back and I say, am I going to pass that $465,000 onto my residents, or am I going to try and do something to absorb it with some surplus, or somehow make some other cuts? But on a $10 million local budget, you can't find $400,000 easily. So eventually, some of that's going to have to go to the residents. And if it's coming out of surplus, that means that I have less money to take care of some infrastructure work I wanted to take care of. And that's the same thing with all of our towns. I'm not speaking just for the town of Montreal West. That's the same thing for all of us.
We were given no indication that it would be, anything greater than cost of living increase. So we have not passed our budget yet. So obviously we have to go back to the drawing board. But I'm very disappointed that there wasn't more collaboration, no heads up on this, and it's a huge increase. I don't think voters voted for a huge tax increase.
And so, as they're saying, a lot of disappointment. They are here to meet the mayor tonight, so they will be able to express some of these concerns, especially that they're not consulted when these kind of large increases are put in a budget. They had no idea it was coming. So we'll be bringing more on this later tonight. Mitzi.
Okay. That was on Wednesday, what I wanted, but just fine. It was good news, good, interesting, and informative news, not good news. What I was asking to show was the Friday press conference one. We'll post that online later. On Friday, there was a press conference by all the mayors of the suburban municipalities, and there we made it clear that what we're doing, which is first of all asking for Mayor Plante to revisit the budget, secondly passing a resolution, and third sending out letters. So that's the CTV report from Friday. This was Wednesday. That was when they just found out. But before we do the passing of the resolution, I guess we'll go for question period, and then we have to put it onto the agenda because it's not on the agenda yet. So for question period, so far I have Irving Ittman, number 1, 5600 Smart Avenue. It's on.
Oh, it's on. I like hearing myself. First of all, I think we should have seen the second report first, because the first video that you put, I mean, everything is beautiful here in Côte Saint-Luc, nothing to complain about. Do you follow what I'm saying?
It's still beautiful.
Absolutely.
We just have taxes that we have to deal with.
All right. Regarding the report we just heard about the new Agglo tax increase, from what I understand, we do have a credit coming back to us. Now, after the yearly portion of the credit, will we still have a large increase?
We're, with all calculations in, it's a $1.3 million that we weren't accounting for, taking everything into account.
Say again?
Taking into any money coming back to us and the more money that we have to pay out, we have $1.3 million more than anticipated to pay to the Agglo.
I see. Are there any professional accountants on staff that will be reviewing the budget?
We've offered from the Association of Suburban Mayors to work with Mayor Plante to make any revisions possible to the budget. Of course, we're analyzing it from our treasurers and the various municipalities' treasurers. We were on with our treasurer speaking with Treasurer Marino today, and he's been analyzing it very closely.
And he is a professional accountant, CPA, right?
I don't know his accreditations offhand. Yes, yes.
Okay. I have a few issues here. Safety alerts. Now, we all heard about the false safety alert in Hawaii. Now, for a number of years, we've been talking about disaster plans, etc. And I know we have a tremendous alert system. Can you walk us through so that everybody understands what to expect if, in fact, there is a problem, whether it be hazardous materials, railroads, tanker trucks, you name it. Can you walk us through and tell us what to expect?
I'd have to have Jody Wrightson do that. I don't think he's in a position to do it right here at the meeting, but it's certainly offline. He can do that or post that type of information. I wouldn't be the one
Why
to be able to give you it.
Can't we have it? Would we go through the same scenario?
No, I don't have, first of all, we don't have that type of alert for that
No,
type
but I'm
of
talking
situation.
about any alert.
Well, we have emergency medical. We have an emergency plan that's well-written. We have a whole document. I don't have it in front of me to give you the whole way it goes, step 1, 2, 3. I don't have it here.
So in other words, if something should happen tonight, nobody knows what to do.
Well, I have here Jody Wrightson in the back, and we have we have Commander O'Malley. So I'd like to thank them both for being here. So we're very well protected, and we have an emergency preparedness document.
Yeah, but you see...
You have a copy of it there? And we have a copy of it online.
All right, so can you let the population know as to step 1, 2, 3?
The plan is 131 pages.
It's all on, is it online?
No, because
It's not, because it's confidential information, but it's 131 pages. What, Director Wrightson would like to speak? Sure, you can do it. You're more qualified.
Our resources in the field respond to any type of emergency. Once we ascertain that it exceeds either our capacity to respond or has an impact on the city and its citizens, then we enact our emergency measures plan. As far as communications go, we have a robust emergency call-out that can reach all 35,000 residents in Côte Saint-Luc-ish in about 7 minutes with specific instructions. It's not a pre-canned answer because the actions that we will ask you to take for a toxic spill, for example, are different than an ice storm, different than a power outage. So we tailor each message to be able to provide timely, accurate, and informative directives what to do. Evacuate, shelter in place, go here, go there.
That's what I was...
Well, that's why I
That's
appreciate
what
the
I was
experts to do it.
asking about.
I'm not going to respond to what I'm
No,
not an
and I
expert in.
appreciate that type of an answer.
Thank you.
100%.
He's the appropriate person to answer.
Snow removal. If you've read the chat lines, you saw that some people were very happy and some people weren't. I feel our snow removal is A1. For the last 25, over 40 years that I'm living here, I think our snow facilities are perfect. And as a matter of fact, Ms. Bebby Newman is here, and there was an issue a few years ago that all of a sudden some bright foreman changed the routine and pushed the snow towards the sidewalks and driveways on Wavell rather than pushing it towards the train tracks where there are no homes. So within a couple hours, Ms. Newman saw to it that it was done the right way. So my point is, although I appreciate Mike Cohn's report talking about our snow removal, but he said nothing has changed in the last few years, right?
I didn't say that.
Chair,
Yes.
he's addressing the chair.
Pardon?
He's addressing the chair first.
Yes.
And if you want to speak to Councillor
Yes.
Cohn, I'll allow him to speak.
The
but
point
after,
is-
question, please.
The point is, I feel that we're living in different types of weather patterns. Is there a person in Public Works or in one of the departments that what I would call a swing person that would look into some of the problem areas that might have been forgotten or might have not been cleaned properly? Is there somebody that follows up?
We have an operations manager that works with Director Newman, and we also have the Associate City Manager, Nadia DeFurrier, who works with Director Newman. So there's a lot of people, plus all the foremen. So there's a lot of people working on the operation. And I have a very long report on the crews and all the operation and what's been going on this year.
So they do follow up on certain problem areas?
For sure.
Perfect. All right.
Okay. We're trying to keep the question period. I know it's impossible, but our rules are it's supposed to be 30 minutes and 3 minutes, but I'm the most relaxed guy there is when it comes to questions. But we still are way over 3 minutes, so let's let the others
Okay,
talk.
I wasn't here last month, so I'm using up last month's time.
Go ahead.
Interestingly, January 15th today was my late wife's birthday. And she once told one of the neighbors, tell Irving to talk about the trains. You can keep him there for another hour. So, basically, I have many issues, but like you say, time's running.
Thank you.
And I feel that we do live in one of the best cities in Canada. Thank you again. Life is precious. Life is fragile. Make the best of life. Thank you. Have a good
Appreciate you coming. Thank you. Dr. Tonchin.
Mr. Mayor, I am concerned because I don't believe the city is operating the way it should. I don't know how to go about it, and I don't think you people know how to go about it. Because you shouldn't wait for the snow to stop before you get out on the street. And I think that's what's wrong. As soon as it snows, we got to get the phone going, and we have to start cleaning the street. Sunday was a tremendous day, and last Saturday was even worse. And I want to point out, if we started right away, we would have had less problems. What is the idea of cleaning the streets after the snow has fallen? What do you do if it's 3-day storm, 4-day storm?
I don't, Dr. Tonchin, I'm not sure where you got that information, but we plow. First of all, we plow, and then after we do the plowing, then we do the blowing. But when we plow, we start plowing right away. We're always plowing, keeping the mains open, and then we blow. We don't blow on weekends except on the mains, meaning like Cavendish and the main streets that we have to be blown on a weekend, we will, because it's double time. But we will plow all the streets throughout the weekend. We had the storm on the weekend this time, and then we're blowing throughout the week. But we don't wait for like all the snow to fall. I don't know who gave you that information.
Well, I heard it from the city hall.
No, we don't.
And I don't know who gave it to me because I can't see and I can't hear well. But the difference is you don't wait for the storm, a 10-inch snowstorm.
You're right, we don't
before
wait.
they close the streets.
You're right. We do not wait. Thank you. Mark Locksman. Your address is 5795 Sir Walter Scott.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm here to basically bring awareness to the issue of banging noise that coming during the snow removal operation from the snow dump. I've been on this issue for roughly 4 years, having exchanges with the directors of public works, visiting the site and speaking to those monitors, and then speaking to the actual contractors and stuff. So I kind of collected lots of information, and unfortunately, I really haven't seen the kind of results that we should expect, And so I decided to, because it's not a simple issue, and I decided to create a report, that puts all that experience together and come up with some recommendations, with some proposals, solutions how to address it. Because as we speak today, I don't believe that it's this present arrangement actually functioning very well. It does work to some extent, but doesn't really fix the issue, so to speak. And the objective is not to criticize people, and who are involved with it. I'm sure that our city is doing a great job overall, and specifically in snow removal area, but there is a serious issue that needs to be addressed. Also, that not everyone is aware that noise pollution is a serious health hazard that's been scientifically proven.
Okay, so let me answer to the best of my ability your question or concern. Of course, we want to do whatever we can to reduce the noise during snow removal operations, and you live near the snow dump, which obviously is a busy place these days.
Exactly.
So, we can look into any ideas that you have, but as long as it snows and that mountain keeps on getting bigger and we have the equipment there, we have to do the work to get it done. And we need to work long hours, but we try to minimize the noise according to the technology that exists today.
Well,
Right.
From my observations, most of the contractors, they comply with the requirements, but unfortunately there is always that minority that is at the root of the problem, that, and in that report I have actual proposal how to deal.
Okay, so we'll look forward to your report. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Charles Guerin, 5685 Merrimack.
Hi. Today, the agglomeration tax burden comes to mind as something of concern. I haven't decided as a citizen what is good and what is bad. I can't figure out if you raise our taxes, is that good? If you lower, if you balance the budget, is that good? Because the Mayor Plant is saying that she wants to spend money on snow removal and things like that. Well, the thing that I just don't understand, and I really need to understand, is that when it comes to things like we do our own snow removal, City of Montreal does their own snow removal, and there's I don't understand, how do you calculate what our city pays the agglomeration? I mean, what factors? For instance, we're one of the few cities that we have a first responders clause in the Act that's different from any other city. So I heard one mayor say that for what he's paying to the agglomeration, he could put a platinum fire trucks in his own city if he ran his own fire department. So what I want to know is very clearly, when you figure out that formula of what we're paying, what are the items that go into it? I know water is one, we need water, but what are the factors that determine what we pay as opposed to what TMR pays as to what anybody else pays?
Right. So you're basically asking, how do they do the formula? How do they calculate the formula to determine how much each suburban municipality pays? Now, I'll allow Councillor Erdely to try to explain.
Well, first of all, if I could take a step back, so to clarify, so the agglomeration fees cover citywide services. So for example, police, fire, public transportation. So even, we obviously are theoretically not just paying for our fire station, but we're paying for our share of all fire stations. God forbid. All the police, so we're paying for that. Now, with regard to the way it works, so if we think of the total agglomeration bill as 100%, so that again is covering all these citywide services, Montreal pays roughly 82.5% of that, and the other 17.5% is paid by the demerged cities. Côte Saint-Luc's share, to give you the exact number, this is of the Côte Part Générale, as they call it, which is the base fee, which is roughly 25 million. So our share is 1.177%. Now, how that's calculated is a very complicated formula. It's based on what they call the TGT, or the tax global. It's based on, I guess, to explain in simple terms, it's based on the total evaluation of Côte Saint-Luc compared to the total evaluation of the island of Montreal. So if we factor in, and I think I have the number here, so let's say the total value of all the properties in Côte Saint-Luc is $4,645,703,713. So let's say again, roughly $4 billion. That's based on the total, let's say, of probably it's 50 times that, so it's probably 200 billion is the total evaluation of the island of Montreal. So it's based on our percentage versus that. It's a little bit more complicated because the weighting is not the same for residential property versus non-residential property. It's a factor that is used. So it's not, let's say commercial is not evaluated at a 1-to-1. It's actually at a factor of 1.75, which I think is the newest coefficient. So it's a bit more complicated, but all that to say, it's basically taking the total value of all the properties in Côte Saint-Luc divided by the total value of all the properties on the island of Montreal. And again, that gives us our percentage. Actually, sorry, it's higher. I'm just thinking out loud. It's probably 350 billion. It's probably, yeah, sorry, I was saying 200 billion, but we're not at 2%, we're closer to 1%, so it's probably closer to $400 billion, which would be the total valuation of the island of Montreal. Again, non-residential versus residential isn't factored at a 1-to-1, but basically that's how they calculate the percentage.
And when in the last year they worked out the fair funding formula?
Yes.
How does that work?
So part of it was, to clarify, and let me see if I have so this is where Côte Saint-Luc is theoretically saving, and it's going to sound like small numbers, but small numbers make a huge difference. Côte Saint-Luc was originally paying 1.256. That went to 1.218. That went to 1.177. So we're talking about small differences, but those small differences factor to roughly $1.6 million for Côte Saint-Luc, and the goal, that number is going to continue to decrease slightly. I don't have the number for next year, but it would probably be in the vicinity of 1.12, let's say, for next year.
What caused it? In other words, what caused it to go down?
So what caused it to go down is actually, and this is again where I may lose people, but it's the ratio of residential to non-residential. So they changed that factor to 1.75. So that, by changing the factor, or the ratio at which they weighed non-residential, so let's say commercial establishments, Cavendish Mall and CP and so on, versus residential property, by changing that factor, it benefited some cities. So Côte Saint-Luc benefited by that change, and it didn't benefit. There's a few that actually end up paying more. some benefit a bit more, a bit less. So it all has to do with the amount of non-residential versus residential property. So for example, I think it's Dorval that was the biggest winner, if I recall. And the reason Dorval is the biggest winner is because of the airport, which is a huge property that probably the airport alone is probably $1 billion property in itself. Maybe even more than $1 billion if you think of all the land that the airport holds. So like I said, it has to do with which ones, and I have the list of sort of the bigger winners, but basically the key is what percentage of their property, what ratio of their property of non-residential versus residential, which accounted for the different, let's say different cities or different demerged cities being bigger winners or losers in the new decree.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mina Khan, 8152 Wavell.
Thank you, Your Worship. Hi, everybody. My question is about the swath of snow. For snow removal is a topic. My question is about the swath of snow that's created between the driveway and the center of the street when it's cleared. My frustration and my mother's frustration, and she's healing from a broken hip, and my dad, who's also super elderly, is that the center of the road is cleared. We totally get emergency vehicles are priority. What I don't understand is why it isn't followed soon thereafter that swath between the center of the street and where the driveways begin, why that isn't cleared soon thereafter. Like, why isn't it cleared? Like, you know, you have the big truck going in the middle and you have like a little truck going right after to clear both the sidewalk and the swath. The reason being that I find it frustrating that the center of the street is clear. It's perfect for driving, but there's this huge mound of snow, which on Christmas Day measured 1 meter in length and 40 centimeters in height in front of my driveway that my brother...
You're talking about the part that would have to be blowed. Like they
the
plow it,
part,
and then the part that has to be blowed.
Yeah, the blowing part, why it can't be done like you're clearing the center street and then the blower comes along, because people, like in my family, people, they need to use the car to get around to doctor's appointments. There are people with young children, they need to get to school, they don't have a public school bus.
In a perfect world, we would have more blowers and more plowers, and we'd have a blower behind every truck, and we'd do the whole city in a day. But we have to be reasonable. So we buy the appropriate amount of equipment, and we have the appropriate amount of contractors. We have 2 companies that work doing our city as well. And the equipment that they have allows them to plow the city a lot faster than blow it. So they plow to clear all the streets, and then the amount of blowers that we have to do all of those mounds. So you can't have one behind every plower.
Is it possible to consider for the next budget, I know with Valerie Plante as mayor, by the way, I tweeted about it, is it possible to review in the next budget, do we have room for even one more blower? Because there's nothing like having to shovel for 30 minutes before you go to work. There's nothing like having your mother with her healing broken hip go, Mina, I'll help you clear the snow when you just can't get out of the driveway. Like, we're paying the taxes for the blowers and for the blowers, but there's no blower there, but the street is clear. It just doesn't make sense.
Sure. Would you like, Councillor Benizri, who's responsible for Public Works, would like to make a comment?
Just to mention that since 2010, till last year, 2017, we changed. Every year we replace snowblower. You know, we try always to keep our equipment, upgrading our equipment, and we have another snowblower that we need to change for 2018. And to be able to buy, and this is, you know, with the budget, to be able to buy new equipment, because this is replacement, to be able, you know, to be able to have quality equipment to be able to do the job. So for sure, it will be for us to have more equipment will be something absolutely how I can say that is essential, but at a certain point, you know, we need to manage with the budget that we have. But I can tell you that we try to keep our equipment at la fine pointe, if I can say, to be.
Okay, because Ms.
Thank you.
Ms. We'll do the best we can within the budget, obviously, but you know, more blowers are more employees and more workers, and everything is done within the reasonable time that we can. So like I say, we plow and then we blow, and it takes, you know, 3, 4, 5 days to blow a whole city of this size after a 36 centimeter storm. So,
But if it's possible to review the question, to see whether we do have,
you can always feel free to speak with the Director of Public Works, who knows all of her equipment. That's BB Newman. She's in the back. And you can email her or talk to her.
Yeah, thank
and
you,
know
BB,
BB.
for the email, thank you.
And she knows all her trucks and all her staff and can answer your questions better than me.
Perfect, thank you.
Thanks a lot. Okay, so now that I have no further questions, I'd like to move to the next agenda item, which first of all would be a motion to add resolution. So,
I'll move it.
Councillor Kovac, a motion to add a resolution regarding the adoption of a resolution to reject the proposed 2018 agglomeration budget. Seconded by, someone to second that motion, Councillor Cohen. All in favor? Anyone opposed? So now we are adding, that is the motion to add the resolution, and now I'm going to ask Councillor Erdely to present the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'll read the resolution in its entirety because I think the whereas clauses are very important, and I'll do a brief explanation. Whereas the Agglomeration Council deposited its 2018 budget on January 10th, 2018, which, if adopted, will result in an average increase of 5.3% to the agglomeration Côte-Part that will be assessed to the 15 suburban cities on the island of Montreal, amount 3 times greater than the 1.7% rate of inflation projected for 2018. Whereas said 2018 agglomeration budget was prepared by the new Plan d'Oreille administration without any prior consultation with the City of Côte Saint-Luc or any other suburban cities. Whereas on August 2nd, 2017, the memo published new rules to determine the annual Côte-Part based on potentiel fiscal for all municipalities served by the City of Montreal agglomeration. Whereas in September 2017, the city received a Côte-Part reimbursement of $798,541 from the City of Montreal based on the new rules, and expected an additional reimbursement of approximately $872,000 for the 2018 fiscal year, totaling a Côte-Part reduction of approximately $1,671,000 in 2018, whereas the city determined that the Côte-Part amount for 2018, accounting for the above-mentioned reimbursement, would be based on $27,172,000 plus a reasonable indexation increase, whereas the city built into its budget a 2% indexation increase, $500,000 for the general Côte-Part based on the estimated rate of inflation for 2018, whereas adoption of the proposed 2018 agglomeration budget will result in a $1,818,000 increase in the Côte-Part that will be assessed to the city, representing an increase of 6.7% when compared to the amount determined by the city prior to the indexation increase, whereas the city's payment to the agglomeration in 2017 was $28,002,790, 41% of the total city budget of $68 million, which, in Council's opinion, is already more than its fair share for services rendered by the agglomeration, whereas the Council finds the increase of $1.8 million in the 2018 agglomeration Côte-Part both unfair and totally unacceptable. Be it resolved that Council advised the Mayor of Montreal that it finds the proposed increase in the 2018 agglomeration Côte-Part totally unacceptable, and that Council render its full support to Mayor Mitchell Brownstein and its fellow mayors of the Association of Suburban Municipalities in their collective efforts to collaborate with the Plan d'Oreille administration to re-examine the 2018 agglomeration budget and make the necessary adjustments that will result in an average budget increase to our Côte-Part that will not exceed the projected 2018 rate of inflation, and the copy of this resolution be transmitted to the member of the National Assembly for Darcy McGee, Mr. David Birnbaum, and the Suburban newspaper.
And the Minister of Municipal Affairs.
Oh, and the Minister...
We'll add the Minister of Municipal Affairs to the resolution.
And all demerged.
And all demerged.
And the mayors of all...
Yeah.
Okay, and other media sources, let's say.
The other recommendation is to table it at the agglomeration meeting, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Sure. Seconded by Councillor Kovac. Any discussion?
So maybe just to explain briefly, so just to give some real, maybe to explain with general numbers, last year the City of Côte Saint-Luc paid $28.8 million to the agglomeration. So $28.8 million included all the base fee, included the water, included the downtown core fee. Now, the expectation was that it would be reduced by $1.6 million to, as mentioned, to $27.2 million. So $27.2 million with a roughly 2% increase would be an extra $500,000 to put it at $27.7 million. What ended up happening is the bill came in spite of the reduction, the bill came in at $29 million, which is, as the mayor mentioned and as mentioned in our resolution, is $1,300,000 more than was budgeted. Obviously, we are not happy. We are disappointed. The worst part is there's a few parts that make this so unacceptable. The first one is that the City of Côte Saint-Luc, both the mayor, our city manager, our director of finance, our treasurer, were discussing with Montreal throughout the last several months, and at every occasion, there was no indication from Montreal that the increase would be above the rate of inflation, as it is at approximately 6.7%. Even up to late December, when our treasurer was contacting Montreal, they still maintained that there would be no surprises. When I went to the meeting early January, on January 10th, just a week or two later, when the question was asked as to why the increase was so large, the representatives from Montreal named 5 factors, all of which go back several months. The renegotiation of the fire contract, the police officer contract, both of which had taken place several months earlier, increased costs for public transit, the extra pension dues related to the 2008 stock market crash, which again happened nearly 10 years ago, so is not a surprise, and increased costs for water. Again, those 5 factors are not ones that should have been surprises, thus our extreme disappointment. That being said, obviously the council is looking at the budget, and we will have to make some very difficult decisions in the next few days, and that will be presented at the budget, when the budget is presented on January 24th. The original plan was to present next Monday. Because of this, we're delaying it by a few days, so we'll be presented on Wednesday, January 24th at 6 p.m. And I think that's all.
No, that's summary where we're at. So moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And now we move on to item number 2, which is approval of the minutes. Councillor Kovacs.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
For the minutes of
December the 11th and December the 18th.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Early. Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried. And we move on to business arising for the minutes. And now item number 4, the monthly departmental reports. Councillor Kovac.
Moved from the library through to the police department, which includes financial services, legal services, parks and recreation, public affairs, public safety, public works, purchasing and general counsel, urban development, and the fire department as well.
Moved by Councillor Kovacs, seconded by Councillor Sabag. Any discussion?
You want to speak to it? Yes.
Councillor Kovac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to not to report everything that was already done in the wonderful report before, but the Parks and Recreation Department is a very busy place. And just to let you know, for the public, that the Valentine's Day dance is coming up February the 10th. It's on Saturday night. It's a lot of fun, and there aren't very many tickets left, so I encourage people to contact Harold Cammie. The Winter Carnival is scheduled for February the 18th, and it's usually a wonderful experience. Bring your kids, bring the rest of your family. There will also be a swim competition January the 28th. It's a regional competition. And also to let you know that for the outdoor pool, we're planning to redo the filtration system for next year. Go online, the arena, the gym, the pool, the Dramatic Society, the day camp, the teen lounge. It's a busy place. We do a lot of things. And the community is really quite engaged, so I encourage you to use the services of the Parks and Recreation Department and see what your tax dollars are spent on. And that's it.
Thank you, Councillor Kovac. Councillor Sabat.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to give a quick report on public safety. Our public safety team continues to build strong, important relationships with our local schools. We met with JPPS, Bialik, and École Maimoni, the school that is very dear to my heart as well. By the way, I'll go on record saying it's the only true Sephardic school, and we have it in our town. In North America, I would say. They taught about school zones, school zone safety as well. In terms of public safety metrics, we continue to show very strong performance metrics. In fact, I would like to talk about one call in particular out of the 6,578 calls responded to last year. On December 5th, Amanda Beliveau, Scott Hunt, and Ryan Turcotte, who was a trainee on his first shift ever, got a call for a woman in labor. And I'm happy to report that they delivered a healthy baby boy on December 5th of this year. This is a true testament of the privilege that we have in our city to have wonderful public security agents and volunteers in EMS and VCOP. So congratulations to them. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Bravo.
Thank you, Councillor Bag. Councillor Early.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A few items to report. I'll start on the environmental side. So just to give the latest, this is comparing 2017 to 2016, January to November, because we don't have the final December stats yet. If we look at the total of organic waste, including both the organic waste that's picked up curbside and that which is dropped off at our public works yard, represents an increase of 22.6%, 2017 to 2016, and our total diversion is up by 11% compared to last year at this point. Very happy to report on, with regard to, well, I guess it's a mix of finances and the environment. Côte Saint-Luc received 2 grants in the last month. One is for what they call redevance, so that is money that's given back to cities based on their environmental successes. That is from the tax that's put on landfill garbage. So Côte Saint-Luc received $400,000 in redevance, plus another $275,000 from Receipt Quebec. So I'm happy that Côte Saint-Luc is being recognized by the provincial government for the work we're doing with regard to the environment. Obviously, we're continuing to work. We just did, if I can add, we did some outreach at the end of December. I went with one of the white collars, I should say, in Public Works Department. We went to 5465 and 5469 Westminster and did some outreach on recycling, on waste, and so on to try to keep the residents, ensure the residents knew the laws, and we're trying to recycle even more. And we're continuing to do that in buildings throughout the city. On the finance side, as mentioned, the focus has been on the budget, and we'll be continuing to work very hard on that over the next few days. Just to give an update with regard to unpaid taxes for 2016. So these are taxes that are 2 years. The number was originally closer to 100. It was down to 31 last month. It's down to 17. And obviously, we will continue to make calls and outreach. In the last 12 years, there hasn't been any that has reached the final date where there are auctions. And we hope, of course, we'll continue to have success making calls and helping residents find payment plans to pay as quickly as possible. And I believe that's it for now. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Italy. Anyone else? Councillor Cohen.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First and foremost, we had our first meeting last week of the Côte Saint-Luc, well, the soon-to-be Côte Saint-Luc Dog Owners Committee. We had about 30 people here. It was a very successful first effort. In fact, what I liked about that meeting is when we had our first Cat Owners Committee about 8 years ago, we had over 100 people. It was in the summer. It was nice weather. But from that group of well over 100, maybe 20 wanted to be on the committee. And from this first meeting of the 30-plus people, every one of them wanted to be on the committee. In fact, I've got more, including Alice, who's here tonight, who've emailed me since the meeting who weren't able to make it and have been added on. So we are going to be having a follow-up meeting. I thank Councillors Sabag, Erdely, and Kujavsky for joining me, and we look forward to more dialogue with the dog owners, but it was a very productive evening. Just to let you know that 6700 The Avenue, the new building across from Cartier Cavendish, the mixed-use building of 90 residential units, it's pretty much near completion. The main outstanding item is the visitor parking area as well as the landscaping, which will be done in the spring, and the amenity spaces for tenants and the indoor pool are also being worked on, but they should be completed over the winter. And we also know that they're actively searching for tenants for the ground floor commercial spaces. The Equinox on Marc Chagall, it's moving along nicely, and they're actually pouring the slab for the 10th floor at this time. So the city's been working with the builders on a regular basis to mitigate any nuisances. I've been, of course, in close dialogue with the builders, with citizens, and I think everything is moving in the right direction, and so on and so forth. So one last thing, there is a single-family home in Ilan Ramon, which is going to be ready soon, and we'll have new residents on that street, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cohen. Anyone else? Councillor Ben-Israel.
Okay, I just want to mention that our Public Works Department were very busy, the last few days removing the snow. I just want to take this opportunity to thank all the team, or our Public Works team, for all the work. And just to mention that almost all the snow removal is done, and the rest will be finished in the next day. So thanks to Bebe Newman, our director, and all the team at Public Works.
Yes, big shout out to the entire Public Works Department and all our crew who've been working very hard in very cold weather, lots of snow. Thank them for all their hard work. Anybody else? Okay, so now we'll move and second it. All in favor of the departmental reports? Carried unanimously. And now we move on to financial services. Councillor Erdely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the attached list of disbursements for the period of December 1st, 2017 to December 31st, 2017 for a total amount of $3,931,684.96 in Canadian funds, and that Treasurer Certificate number 17-0230, dated January 9th, 2018, has been issued by the City Treasurer, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Erdely, seconded by Councillor Kajowski. Any discussion? Councillor Erdely.
So just to mention a few of the larger items that are covered by last month's disbursements. One of them was a payment for the fencing that was put up at Kerwin Park, the new fencing around the baseball fields. There was one of the payments for our Cavendish Underpass project, and some payments for snow removal contracts.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously, and we move on to item number 6, Human Resources. 6A, Councillor Ben-Israel.
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Est résolu que la municipalité ou MRC ou régie intermunicipale confirme son adhésion à l'une des mutuelles et s'engage à compléter pour l'UMQ, dans les délais fixés, toute documentation nécessaire à son adhésion à l'une des mutuelles. Que la municipalité ou MRC ou régie intermunicipale confirme son adhésion aux 2 regroupements de l'UMQ pour retenir les services professionnels d'actuaires et d'un consultant pour la gestion des mutuelles et confier à l'UMQ le processus menant à l'adjudication des 2 contrats. Que 2 contrats d'une durée de 3 ans, plus de 2 années d'option, une année à la fois, est octroyée par l'UMQ selon les termes prévus au document d'appel d'offres et de la loi applicable. Que la municipalité ou MRC ou régie intermunicipale s'engage à respecter les termes et conditions des dits contrats, comme si elle avait contracté directement avec les fournisseurs à qui les contrats seraient adjugés. Que la municipalité ou MRC ou régie intermunicipale s'engage à payer annuellement à l'UMQ les frais de gestion de 0,04% de masse salariale assurable à la CNESST pour sa participation à l'une des mutuelles de prévention.
Okay. Proposé par le conseiller Ben-Israel, appuyé par le conseiller Sebag. Est-ce qu'il y a des discussions? Any more explanation, Councillor Ben-Israel?
C'est au niveau des ressources humaines, c'est des appels d'offres de l'UMQ afin de retenir les services professionnels d'actuaires et d'un consultant pour la gestion des mutuelles de prévention en santé et sécurité du travail de l'UMQ.
Okay. So it authorizes the Union of Municipalities of Quebec to issue 2 public calls for tenders for the actuarial services and consultant services for the management of the prévention, santé et sécurité du travail de l'UMQ. So now that it's moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried. And we move to 6B, Councillor Kovac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the appointment of Maria Picciuto as a Secretary, Administrative Services, permanent white-collar position effective January the 8th, 2018, and that the Treasurer's Certificate 18-0013, dated January the 3rd, 2018, has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses. And this is a transfer from one department to another department.
Moved by Councillor Kovac, seconded by Councillor Sabag. Any further discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried, and we move to item number 6C. Councillor Sabag.
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Attendu que la ville de Côte Saint-Luc veut déléguer la responsabilité à la gestionnaire des ressources humaines, Claudia Naboli, d'engager contractuellement la ville avec Emploi Québec dans le cadre de la mesure de subvention salariale. Entendu aussi que la délégation de ce pouvoir sera en vigueur pour une durée de 1 an, complète, dès l'adoption de la provision de la présente résolution.
Proposé pour le conseiller Sabag.
Resolution. You have to read the
Ah,
resolution.
attends, excusez.
Yeah, il est résolu que...
Oh, sorry. I thought he was
Il est résolu que le conseil municipal de la ville de Côte-Saint-Luc, par la présente, délègue la responsabilité d'engager contractuellement la ville de Côte-Saint-Luc, la ville, avec Emploi Québec, dans le cadre de la mesure de subvention salariale à Claudia Napoli pour une période d'1 an.
Proposé par le conseiller Sabag, appuyé par conseiller Benezri. Est-ce qu'il y a des discussions?
Non, simplement une délégation formelle.
Okay. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously, and we move on to item 6D, which is Councillor Cohen. Councillor Cohen, 6D, Human Resources.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I so move that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approve the hiring of Steve Lemieux as Information Technology Manager effective December 11th, 2017. The Treasurer Certificate number 180014, January 3rd, 2018, has been issued by the City Treasurer and attesting the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Cohen, seconded by Councillor Kovac. Any discussion, Councillor Cohen?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we're very fortunate to have Steve rejoin our staff. He was with us for a number of years, and we brought him back for a very important position, so welcome aboard, Steve.
For the hiring of the Information Technology Manager. Excellent. So moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to item E. Councillor Cohen.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I so move that the City of Côte Saint-Luc Council approves the hiring of the employee whose name is listed in the document entitled Winter 2018 Intern, dated December 14th, 2017, and that said employee's term of employment will be as per the respective dates indicated on the aforementioned list, that the Treasurer Certificate number 180012, dated January 3rd, 2018, has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting the availability of funds to cover the above described expense.
Moved by Councillor Cohen, seconded by Councillor Kovac. Any discussion, Councillor Cohen?
No, Mr. Mayor, pretty straightforward.
Straightforward hiring of an intern. Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried, and we move to item number 7, Legal Services, 7A, Councillor Erdely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just give me 1 second here. Be it resolved that the Council of the City of Côte Saint-Luc officially declare that such amended statement of pecuniary interest has been received from Councillor Mitch Kajavsky and instructs the city clerk to deposit same in the archives of the city, as well as to add Councillor Kajavsky's name to the official list of those who filed their declarations sent to the Minister of Municipal Affairs, Regions, and Land Occupancy.
Moved by Councillor Erdely, seconded by Councillor Sabag. Any discussion? Councillor
So
Erdely?
just to mention, Councillor Kajavsky submitted his statement of pecuniary interest along with the other councillors. There was a slight typo that was corrected, and that's why it's being resubmitted.
Sending the amendments. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried. Now we move on to B. Councillor Sabag.
Thank you,
7B.
Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that in compliance with the Act, the Côte Saint-Luc City Council hereby adopts Bylaw 2496 entitled Bylaw Readopting Bylaws 2424 and 2424-1, adopting a code of ethics and good conduct for elected municipal officers of the City of Côte Saint-Luc.
Thank you, Councillor Sabag, seconded by Councillor Kajavsky. Any discussion?
No, this is something that we needed to do as we all got elected in the past, in the last election, so we just passed that motion.
Yeah, this is the Code of Ethics and Good Conduct required to be respected by elected municipal officials, and for the city of Côte Saint-Luc, we drafted ours, and we have to pass it each mandate. So moved and seconded,
Correct.
all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And we move on to 8A, Councillor Cohen.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
It's the ratification of expenses related to the Municipal Animal Control Services contract with the
Oh, yeah.
SPCA for the 2018.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I so move the City of Côte Saint-Luc hereby approve the expenditure pursuant to the Municipal Animal Control Services contract with the SPCA for the services that will be rendered in 2018 for a total amount not to exceed $13,916.07 plus applicable taxes.
Moved by Councillor Cohen, seconded by Councillor Sabag. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, only that we're very fortunate to have an organization like the SPCA in our city, and I urge any animal lovers to visit there one day to their headquarters and to see the wonderful work they do.
Thank you, Councillor Cohen. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to item number 9, Purchasing and General Counsel. 9A, Councillor Ben Isri.
Yep. Merci, Monsieur le maire. Est résolu que le Conseil municipal de Côte Saint-Luc conseille par la présente ratifie les dépenses encourues suite au contrat d'entretien préventif du système de CIVAC à l'hôtel de ville et bibliothèque avec Carmichael Engineering Limited pour des services rendus en 2017 pour la somme totale de $35,258,90 plus les taxes applicables.
I think you're on the.
I think he did 9B first.
I think you did 9B though.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
Let's do that one first.
Sorry.
So you did that, so that's fine. 9B, we did 9B, which is the HVAC system. So that was moved by Councillor Ben Isri. Did you read
Okay,
that?
I didn't. You want me to go back to
You
9A?
finish it. Keep on doing it. 9B.
Yeah. Que le Conseil par la présente ratifie les dépenses encourues suite au contrat d'entretien préventif du système de CIVAC au CCA avec Colostat incorporé pour des services rendus en 2017 pour la somme totale de $46,862,37 plus les taxes applicables.
Okay. So proposé pour le conseiller Ben Isri and seconded by Councillor Erdely. Any discussion? So this is for the HVAC systems, the preventative maintenance contracts related to the HVAC systems at City Hall, the public library, the Eleanor London Public Library, and the ACC Aquatic Center.
So just, if I can add, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
So for this building, as was discussed when we presented the capital project, part of the plans is to redo the cooling system, the HVAC system for this building. However, until that is done, we still need someone to maintain the HVAC system over the next few months. So the contract with Carmichael will go on until the building replaces the system. Once that is replaced, there'll be a new company that installs. Along with the installation, we'll get at least, or let's say roughly 1 year of maintenance included. And at that point, obviously, we will go to tender again for a new maintenance contract for this building.
So moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously, and now we'll go back to 9A, which is the purchase of fuel for the fleet of vehicles for the 2017 year. Councillor Ben Isri.
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Est résolu que le Conseil municipal de la ville de Côte Saint-Luc conseille par la présente ratifie l'achat de carburant pour sa flotte de véhicules pendant l'année 2017 de Énergie Valero et les pétroles Parkland en conformité avec les appels d'offres regroupés organisés par la ville de Montréal et la STM pour un montant total de $274 459,38, incluant les taxes.
Proposé pour le conseiller Ben Isri, appuyé pour le conseiller Erdely. Est-ce qu'il y a des discussions? Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do we know how much is done, how much diesel we use as compared to regular gasoline? How many of our fleet are diesel, if we have any? Do we know that?
Do we have that answer?
I can tell you the liters of each that we used.
Well, that would answer a question, yeah, that would answer.
Give me. Well, first, just to mention, if I may, as I'm pulling up, the City of Côte Saint-Luc is part of a group tender through the City of Montreal through the STM. So as far as the usage of fuel, the audit committee, one of the things it does is every month or so reviews the total number of liters. So for example, I should say, although this is as of end of October, early November, because we're always a little bit behind, we had used a total of 89,000 725 liters of regular unleaded, and 130,317 of diesel. So we're using more diesel, partly because the larger vehicles are still running on diesel, the larger, probably the 10-ton trucks and so on. So, but if I compare to previous years, it shows general reduction, although we do comparison studies with regard to the fuel use versus centimeters of snow and amount of freezing rain as well. So we do an analysis every month at the audit committee reviewing these numbers.
Thank you.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to item number 10, stance on issues to be presented at the agglomeration. Councillor Kovac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that Council takes the following stance in view of any agglomeration council meetings to be held in February 2018 as follows: to authorize the Mayor or his duly authorized replacement to make any decisions he deems necessary and in the best interest of the City of Côte Saint-Luc and its residents regarding the items on the agenda of the agglomeration council meetings to be held in February 2018 based on the information to be presented during those meetings.
Thank you, Councillor Kovac. Seconded by Councillor Sabag. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And now we move on to other business. Is there any other business? And second question period. Any questions? Dr. Township.
Mr. Mayor, I am concerned with the room for the public. As I look around the room, there's less and less people. I came to the conclusion tonight that it's the reception in the room that should be done almost immediately to encourage people to come forward at the regular monthly council meeting. You cannot hear well, and I don't know if I'm crazy or what, but the sound is horrible. I mentioned the microphones. It's not the microphones. I'm told that's not the microphones. I don't know what it is. It's perhaps the room itself, but you cannot hear clear. And if you want people to attend council meetings, please, this should be the first priority for 2018.
Thank you. 2005. Mr. Inman.
Some of the things that I'm going to bring up were on the agenda through Parks and Recreation, etc. So please allow me the 3 minutes. Kerwin Park. I understand that the council, mayor, and the administration are involved now with the budget, etc. But Kerwin Park, there was a first meeting, which was a really tremendous meeting. Will there be a follow-up meeting? And also, can the schedule be brought forward so that part of the park can be enjoyed this coming summer or fall?
Director Abramovich, since you're leading this project, if you'd like to speak.
Sorry, we will be having another public consultation once we hire the people who are going to, like the professionals who are going to be doing the design of the park. After they do a preliminary design, there will be a follow-up public consultation that everyone will be invited to see what the design is and comment on it before any final plan is made. So that is the next public consultation, which will be in the spring probably. And then the timeline, I know you brought this up at the public consultation, we can't accelerate it. So basically, in the project life cycle, we have the tender process. So right now, we haven't even made a decision about what to go to tender with. We're going to be doing that soon. Then we have to have the tender period, hire the professional services. The professional services need time to respond. They need time to do the design. Once they do the design, we have the public consultation that we talked about. After we have the public consultation that we talked about, then they go back to the drawing board. Well, hopefully they don't go back to the drawing board, but they refine the plan. Then they use that or we use that, I should say, to draw the specs and then go out to tender for the construction people. By the time you have that, you're already at the end of the season. Like there's no time to start the actual plan, and we only have the construction plan in 2019's budget, not in 2018's. So we can't accelerate it, but that is the overall calendar.
Okay. Thank you, Director Abramovich.
I understand and I appreciate your answer. But coming from business, I'm not talking about the budget or the procedures here, but I'm sure certain things can be sped up. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Other questions?
The other thing. Again, I draw upon my business experience. Surely when you talk about the agglomeration or Montreal, the Coderre administration spent money like a drunken sailor. Surely with the blue collar and the firefighters union and all that, surely the administration knew that one day down the line, monies will have to be paid for increases. There was nothing put aside. There was nothing discussed with the 17 demerged cities saying, hey, one day we're going to have to pay the piper. All of a sudden, this became like a surprise, even though Mayor Plante just pulled a fast one. Nobody thought that one day there will be an increase and we have to watch ourselves and maybe tighten the belt with regards to our interior budgets. Is there an answer to this?
I couldn't agree with you more with respect to the current administration's actions, but there was definitely, and I will confirm that on behalf of all of the suburban mayors, there was no discussion with us and no advisory to us. We were informed basically at the same time as the media of this budget. And we have offered and continue to offer to work with Mayor Plante to review the budget with her and make our suggestions with our treasurers involved to improve a revised budget for the 2018 year.
But
But what they did, you can only speak to Mayor Plante and their administration. I can know that we were not consulted.
I understand that, but as an administration, whether it be your administration or the previous one, everybody knew that the contracts weren't signed and there will be an eventual increase. So wasn't there something put aside in eventual budgets?
You'll have to go to a Montreal meeting and ask that question.
No, I'm asking it here.
We planned according to what was very clear in the current mayor's complete campaign. Her campaign was to not go above the cost of living. If she had kept that campaign promise, we were ready with $500,000, which would have been more than enough because the cost of living, 2% we put aside. That's it. That's all you need.
I see what you
She
mean.
could have put in 1%. We put aside $500,000.
So next week, when as you're going to review the budget, you're talking the budget for Côte Saint-Luc now. Is it time to think about PPP, private-public participation in some of the different activities that the city is running?
We do that already. We're very active in that way. Of course, that works in many ways. It's a benefit in many ways.
Mm-hmm. And are there any other activities that can be curtailed? I mean, there's a point of no return with the residents. You know, we all want, it's a catch-22, I understand. We all want certain things, dog runs, etc. When I had a dog, I carved out an oval in the snow and my purebred collie ran around the oval. Today, everybody wants a dog run. It's beautiful, but it costs money.
Well, this council, this current council, the newly elected council, did a budget to give the highest quality of service at a tax freeze. So we did a good job. So nobody's going to be hit too hard. We're going to have to make some adjustments. You're going to have the highest quality of service, and we're going to have to make some adjustments. That means potential tax increases, certain cuts in certain areas, but we want to maintain the highest quality of service.
Right.
So we're not in a bad situation. At least we weren't budgeting for a tax increase. We were budgeting for no tax increase.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, come forward.
Good evening. Pleasure to meet all of you.
Name and address, please.
Not so much, not
Just the name of your name and address.
Alice Kern, 6700. Okay, it's not so much of a question, but maybe a suggestion. I'm a resident of Côte Saint-Luc on and off since 1956. During the late 50s and early 60s, we did have measures in place for emergency alerts. Okay? Maybe to look back into what was at that time available and somehow incorporate it into modern day accommodations to, in case, God forbid.
Right. Well, we have a new system, a new call-out system, where basically we can call the entire city within 2 minutes.
I'm sorry?
Within several minutes, we can call by phone, everybody's cell phone, everybody's phone, everybody gets a phone call.
No, but
we use that when we
I
need
understand
to. This,
that,
for an emergency, we certainly would use that.
Back then.
We didn't have that.
Back then, it was an alert sound, and you had to know where to go. And there were places already, because I'm schooled in Côte Saint-Luc, my son was born here, I'm back here.
Right.
But there were places available for already emergency alerts, and to somehow, not everybody walks around with a cell phone.
You're talking about a system where there would be an alarm that everyone would hear the alarm throughout the city, like in case of, you know, like
some people have a hard time hearing some people have a hard time hearing fire alarms. So a very shrieky alert would have to be would have to be put into place.
Okay. Okay, we'll look into it. Thank you.
Anyway.
Take a look at Maitre Schechter, just make a note in the minutes to see what once was, if it would make any sense today.
We went door to door. At some point,
Okay,
depending
any
on...
other questions?
Depends on the situation.
Any other questions? If there's no further questions, I'm going to ask for someone to move. Councillor Kovac, move to adjourn, seconded by Councillor Cohen. All in favor? All in favor, Councillor Kajowski. Carried unanimously adjourned. Thank you all.